Hello and welcome to another scene set in Odessa Dark Crusade Season 2. Today, we set the scene once again in the bowels of the Rose, the favoured haven of Fabio Orsini and Silo of Clan La Sombra and fellow Abyss Mystic, who is once again summoning some devilish servants to perform his bidding, to act as his spies, the information gatherers. And it seems fortune has struck him well this time, as the shadows that so often coalesce him have not just shattered the light and the flame within the brothel. And within the basement, he is actually able to have a few light torches that are not strangled by the shadowy tendrils that so often consume the light around him, rendering his task far easier than it was before.
Orsini places 3 of the thick candles on his desk, and before starting to coerce the shadows to his bidding, he thinks he might make better use of his hands first, and uses this light, though he doesn't necessarily need it, to... He grabs a piece of parchment and his inkwell and a quill, and in his most elegant Arabic penmanship writes a letter requesting an audience with the primogen of Clan Asamite. He rolls up the scroll, uses the melted wax from one of the candles, and seals it with a bit of string and a seal, and he ponders for a second what seal to use, and he, more out of preference than out of need, uses his own personal seal instead of that of his clan, and puts the letter away. And as he brings the candles closer to him, he takes one into his hand, puts his palm over the light, extinguishing it and feeling the deep burn that this has caused it. And from the surrounding shadows, from his overwhelming shadow, a small chunk of it gathers into the wound that has formed into his palm. "My servant," he says as he speaks to this small amorphous blob, "you shall go after the one called Gerard of Tours. Listen in to his discussions. Tell me what he plans. Tell me everything he does for the nights to come." And as he says that, he gathers the small blob into his fist and throws it against the wall, basically giving it momentum so it can quickly fly out the window and go to its bidding.
And flies away it does.
He looks at the palm of his hand, which is severely burned at this point, but might take another blow or two. He takes the second candle, crushes it with the same hand, squints a little at the pain. Another blob forms. He looks at this small blob. "My servant, go into the sewers. There is a creature there that is neither man nor beast. Seek it out. Tell me where it sleeps. Tell me what it eats. Tell me whether it speaks or not." And he does the same thing. He clutches his hand, giving it a bit of momentum, throws it out the window, sends it on its way. Seeing his the palm of his hand visibly burned. He picks up the third candle, and this time, instead of extinguishing it with the palm, he uses the back of his hand almost and extinguishes the flame. His palm is visibly burned, and probably close to poking a hole right through his hand. At this point, gathers the small darkness. My servant, you shall go after the fledgling called Irene Argyris. Be mindful of her and her sire, for they are of my blood and know the shadows well. Hide better and watch over them and report back. Takes the shadow, throws it out the window, uses his other hand to open a drawer and produce a set of thick leather gloves. And as he puts them on to hide the burn and not be suspicious by wearing a single glove, he exits his office and finds his Osam, one of his children, the silver-fanged, silver-toothed rabble-rouser. My child, I've heard rumors, both from you and from others, about a woman, a witch, hiding somewhere in the slums. He told me she robbed poor folk. Ask your boys, ask around. See if there's anything else you can find out about her and report to me at once. And as he says that, the brutish man bows his head and exits the room. Orsini goes back into his office and gets the scroll, the letter that he wrote, finds one of his ghouls, young boy, takes out his money pouch, puts his hand into it, produces a gold coin, puts it in the hand of the child, and looks at him in the eye without specifically using any powers of the blood. Take this to... In character, I would know this, but out of character, I forgot exactly where the Assamite domain is.
Jewish quarter.
Hmm?
Jewish quarter.
Take this letter to the Jewish quarter. Make sure Jacob gets it. The kid just nods and takes the coin, looking at it, probably being one of the first gold coins he's ever seen up close, let alone owned. And Orsini, before preparing for other endeavors that he wishes to take this night, he goes to one of the back rooms and finds Zoya, his firstborn, his first child, his most trusted and loyal advisor. My child, I wish to ask for your aid. There is some here who are interested in our wares. speak to the cloth merchants. Find me something that will definitely catch their eye. We will have the money for it, and it's gonna bring us greater benefits. And the girl nods, puts her hood on, and fixes the room. And before getting back into the house, Orsini puts his hood up, and as a little break from the job, from his activities, the evening activities, he's gonna go hunt, and I'm gonna have a little hunting roll.
Yep. Keep in mind, I think you're on -1 dice roll because of wound penalties.
Fair enough. So -1 rolls, difficulty 7. I get 5 blood.
That will help with the healing process over the next 3 days. So you can heal 1 for basically free, and then, yeah, the other 2 are going to be a little more taxing. But that will be... as long as you're not too proactive, healing these wounds shouldn't be too much trouble.
Yeah, and Orsini.
Oh, sorry.
Orsini feels his hand getting a bit better, but decides to keep the gloves on. And heads back to his haven, seeing as the ritual to commend the eyes of the darkness took less time than he expected. He still has time to do other chores tonight. And unless you want to add anything else, I believe we could call it a scene.
I believe that's what we can call it, a scene. Thank you, player, for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching. We'll see you next time.